player Will.
Welcome back, Visions fans. Ready Player Will here. We have a new Vision card this week. It's the Hour of the Raging Stag. It is the Jaden-specific Vision card they released for him, and we were kind of excited to see what they came out with for this because this does dictate a little bit of Jaden's value for what Gumi had in mind for his team-building potential and what his strengths might be based off this Vision card, and it's a good card for him, but we're going to answer the question, should you pull? So kicking things off, let's actually look at the Vision card itself. Big props to JB79 for maintaining this Vision card. It is a 3-class Vision card with Gun, Staff Devout, and Sword Red Mage, which there are a lot of really great units among those 3 classes. It is a magic-oriented Vision card with the 148 magic in the main stat, a valuable 30 dexterity here, which does help overall crit rate for the unit equipping it, and 3 agility points, which is very noteworthy because this is absolutely a main slot Vision card that you'll be using, so you will get the full 3 agility points. Very valuable in terms of starting turn order. The unit bestowed abilities here are actually rather exceptional too. You have 20% unit resistance penetration on here. We've only ever seen something similar to this on the Angela Vision card, where there was AoE res pen here, but that unit res pen here is a significant offensive bump for whoever is equipping it. Jaden in particular comes to mind, but even these circled units like Sol and Exia and Lucille and even the Veritas of the Light theoretically benefit from this as well. It is missing the actual Yuna unit here though, the new 10-2 unit. So she is one of the light units that will be eligible in the party to get the effects, which on that note, the party effects are 24% area resistance, which is why this is a main slot candidate, but it's also 24% general chain resistance and 35% missile attack. So this is already very much a gun-oriented Vision card based on the fact that it's a missile attack up here, where normally you might see things like man killer on physical hit or man killer on magical hit for more general damage type purposes, but this is obviously very specific to the missile type attacks, and there is a very valuable holo effect of the Guild War 15% accuracy, which is, again, a free 15% accuracy in the main slot, which we are going to see an uptick in some potential evasion with Riku, maybe, but even just in general, the power creep of the luck stat and the luck percentage Vision cards does make this very valuable for those Guild Wars. And the holo effect for this in that Guild War mode is 2 missile attack and 5% dexterity to all units on this card as well. And that 5% dexterity is a couple extra points of crit rate. Every little bit adds up there, certainly nice. But I do like this card, but it is obviously very missile-oriented, which is going to be a recurring theme here. And so just looking at the value of the area resistance, just for each one of these 3 classes to see what do they already have available to them. Gun is actually a little bit under-tuned for AoE resistance. We have the global exclusive Sylvie card, so this is actually a very strong global card that Japan does not have, but they do have the A2 card as well, and technically you want to consider some of these physical wide res that you see here on the Univision card or the Lucille Vision card. Although it's not technically AoE res, it should be considered in your team building conversation. But yeah, Gun certainly could use this Vision card to well-round them for a different variety of teams, but Staff Devout already has 3 AoE cards, and a couple of them are with some very popular classes already, and Sword Red Mage actually has got a slew of AoE res cards, almost too many at this point, that this does add to their value as rainbow units. But a couple things to point out in particular, you'll notice there's already a lot of existing overlap between the AoE cards here. Between Gun and Sword Red Mage, they actually both share the Sylvie Vision card and the A2 Vision card. So those 2 teams, as a rainbow team, already have an AoE resistance card. And even between Staff Devout and Sword Red Mage, that Young Eld Vision card is already an AoE res type Vision card, and similarly, so isn't the Lucille Vision card. So in terms of adding to the overlap of AoE res between these 3 different teams, it's actually already there. The AoE resistance, while really nice and really impactful in the main slot, doesn't really open new doors for these teams per se. What this Vision card really is meant to do is jack up the gun potency in these teams, where sure, they might have AoE res covered, but when you're using these gun-oriented teams, that missile attack, very important for those gun units. The accuracy certainly does help, where accuracy isn't at all in any of these cards, so that is a great component to add into Guild War. But even the chain resistance, where you consider Sword Red Mage, a lot of those units as rainbow units tend to be tanks. So units like Agrius or Summer Glaciella, or even some of the more power creep tanks, having that chain resistance for a tank actually does have some nice damage reduction implications. It's not amazing, but it's something to at least be knowledgeable about. So knowing that this is obviously the gun-oriented vision card, let's also look at the Una vision card synergy, where unfortunately there are no other class overlaps between these two, which is why I'm making the point that you really are emphasizing two missile units, I would think at the least, and a potential third rainbow team. That said, these are complementary stats for your gun units, where there's no overlap between any of them. In fact, it only bulks up their AoE potential because Una brings physical wide res in addition to the regular generic AoE res. And so you can have gun-oriented teams go either triple gunner in that respect, or go for that rainbow third unit where it could be a healer or a tank depending upon your matchup, what your account has, all those factors. Now the other thing to consider is looking at, obviously at this point, concluding this is a gun-oriented vision card, what's the existing relationship between Gun and Sword Red Mage and Staff Devout? Now, Gun and Sword Red Mage already have 5 different vision cards in common. Already a really strong building block, which is why I do like the Sword Red Mage component of this. I do think that's the natural synergy in the short term if you are making a team of 3. Staff Devout only has one other card shared between Gun and Staff Devout, and it is the Angela card, which not everyone may have pulled on. We said it was a must pull as content creators. Hopefully you followed that advice. But despite the fact that there is only one card between Staff Devout and Gun, they are 2 exceptional cards together. This Angela card, we said, was must pull for a reason. There's a lot of stats on here that are going to greatly benefit Jaden, in particular because of that magic percent up. A little bit less so for Una, but still a great vision card overall. So the general thoughts, absolutely a gun-oriented card, a Jaden-oriented card, quite frankly, because a lot of the gun units just really aren't that great in the game nowadays. So it's kind of Jaden and Una or nothing at this point. Sure, there are some units like the old Isolaya unit getting an MA3 relatively soon. There are units like the Light Veritas, who I actually do still have some hope for as a third potential unit in this team. I do think that's an interesting wrinkle, but this doesn't really bridge the gap much more with Sword Red Mage, as they already have 2 AoE cards in common, but this one is that missile attack to the party, the accuracy to the party, and a huge offensive bump to the wielder of this vision card because of the 20 unit res pen. That can't be understated. Staff Devout already has lots of AoE and rainbow options, so this doesn't really do much for the Staff Devout class in particular, but this really does a lot for Lucille and Exia, and Exia has an exceptional missile scaling attack. People can forget that. Her range 6 ability is a piercing missile imperil, so Exia does fit into these teams really well as a Staff Devout unit, and Lucille obviously does too when you consider she can haste both of them, gives them some extra durability, heal up their health pools, all of those great things. And so the should you pull for me is a no. To me, you should really only consider pulling this card if you are going for those Jaden and Una teams. Gumi is sort of resetting Missile as a class at the moment, and while it does look powerful in JP, the #1 ranked guild is running a Missile wall. This is a permanent vision card you can get later. Missile's always map dependent anyway, so there's some ebbs and flows in how often you might use that team. We don't even know what they're coming out in the next month or so. They could release a new unit that's anti-gun tomorrow and will completely change this conversation. So there's some things that still trepidation on my part that this is going to be the new normal going forward for missile teams. But Sword Red Mage and Staff Devout are already very well covered for AoE res option. The rest of this card really doesn't add much for them as individual classes, so I'm not really considering that angle. That being said, this doesn't mean that gun units don't need either one of those Red Mage or Staff Devout characters. Triple Gunner is exceptionally unbalanced. Maybe great for like quick pick class match arena, those one-time fights where you can kind of pick and choose, but for more general Guild War use, it hasn't worked in years, and I'm not really betting my bottom dollar that it's going to work again. But having this card does add for a lot of synergy for those flexible third options, where, as we established, Sword Red Mage already has some great vision card overlap, and although Staff Devout a little bit limited, that Angela vision card is a banger second main slot option. All it takes is Gumi to release one more card with the 2 of them together and really could solidify what that synergy needs together. But that's my thoughts overall. If you're pulling on the card this week, obviously good luck. I am very intrigued to see the future of the game here and what they're doing to maybe emphasize and build out different Jaden teams, just given that he's the 5th anniversary unit, because right now he's a very quality unit, but he's not a broken unit. There's a lot of good balanced counterplay to him, which is actually a good thing, quite frankly. But I know if they ever want to get him to that point of being really a staple of a certain meta for any kind of period of time, this card and likely a little bit more are probably going to be integral parts to it. So don't miss out on it if you are looking to build out that Jaden team. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll talk to y'all later.